Hello and welcome back, I should say, to the 2022 Cupertino Annual Public Safety Forum. It's wonderful to see all of you. It's wonderful to have all of you here tonight. We are so thrilled to be able to bring back an event like this in Cupertino. I believe that the last time we had a gathering like this, it was well before the pandemic. And we're very happy to be able to break bread and share safety information with our community tonight. I'd like to thank a couple of my fellow city council members for being here tonight. I'm Mayor Darcy Paul. I see that we have Council Member Kitty Moore here. And I see that we have Council Member Hung Wei as well. The Public Safety Forum has long served as an opportunity for our community to engage in conversations with our public safety agencies. Public safety remains one of the city's top priorities. That was true before the pandemic, it was true during the pandemic, and it is true hopefully now that we are moving on from pandemic conditions. The Public Safety Commission remains closely connected to public safety officials and continues to make valued recommendations to your city council. And so we're very happy for the work and the input from all of our commissions. I want to thank our many commissioners that are here today. And I see a sea of faces out there for people that have been involved through that mechanism in our community for many years, and also a number of committed community members. And we're all very grateful that you're here tonight. We take pride in our partnerships with the Sheriff's Office and with the Fire Department. The Sheriff's Office tonight will discuss recent crime trends and describe the community policing model. The Fire Department will present the new Wildfire Specialist program working to keep Cupertino and the West Valley prepared for potential wildfires. In Cupertino, our community gets involved, and we thank you for the impact our volunteers have made, including the Citizen Corps, block leaders, and our youth. Thank you all for every single one of those groups. The Block Leader program will highlight the new Neighborhood Lead, the Green Blocks curriculum, a partnership in sustainability and emergency preparedness. And so you can see a lot of these trends are interweaving when we look at sustainability, when we look at public safety, when we look at all those various things that we value within the community. Our Citizen Corps, your city's resident responders, will feature ways you can get involved today by helping your family and neighbors be more prepared for any emergency. And we're at such an inflection point, aren't we, socially? We're able to bring back a lot of these types of mechanisms that we had before, and hopefully they will be new and improved. By all the looks of things tonight, we're ready to go forward and make those new improvements. We welcome the County Behavioral Health Science Services to showcase the availability of 988, which is an innovative approach to serving those in an acute mental health crisis. This year's Public Safety Forum features additional partner agencies from around the county. Visit each table around the room for specialized public safety information. The American Red Cross is here. CADRE is here, and that stands for Collaborating Agencies Disaster Relief Effort. The County Office of Emergency Management is here. We also have several Cupertino departments that are tabling throughout the room and in the lobby of Community Hall today. We have our Office of Emergency Management. We have the Innovation and Technology GIS Division. A lot of very interesting things happening in the space of GIS. And we have Safe Routes to School. In addition, we have PG&E. We also have the Wildfire Awareness Initiative, WAI or Y. The Monte Vista High School students put together that initiative, and we're just so very proud of being able to have the type of community where groups like that student group can come into Community Hall to this very chamber and present to the City Council on a regular basis. And they continue to do so now. As we gather here inside Community Hall, I would be remiss if we did not acknowledge again how long and difficult these past several years have been. Cupertino is returning better than ever through a steadfast dedication to public safety. The City Council, for example, has taken action to implement automatic license plate readers, and we have relocated the Emergency Operations Center. The original Emergency Operations Center was actually in the original City Council chambers, or at least original prior to when we had the City Council chambers here. And when we were talking about either renovating or making a new City Hall potentially, having the EOC in that much larger building, much more expensive. And so City Council decided to go ahead and acquire an office building up Torrey here, also very close to the Civic Center, and the EOC will be housed there as of a decision made by Council last Tuesday. This year, Cupertino will see even more advancements in public safety. In my opinion, we are now emerging as more compassionate. Our standards have remained as high as ever, but we have had time to think about how we implement successful solutions in the absence of mentalities like the ends justifying the means, where some issues at least get pushed back and exacerbated. No, we are aspirational, and we are working together to achieve in this context safety, compassion, and fair treatment for everyone. Nobody ever said it was easy, and we're so very glad to have many capable and caring partners with us here today. I'm now very happy to introduce Public Safety Commission Chair Eric Shan. Chair Shan is completing his third year on the Public Safety Commission. Eric is a native of Cupertino who values community. In the past, he's focused on contributing in a positive way to his communities in school and professionally. He managed volunteering efforts at Berkeley as well as co-chaired judicial efforts at Stanford. At work, he has continued and served as an exec sponsor for culture and well-being. Eric continually strives to better understand feedback from our community and help shape those into meaningful values and programs. Everyone, let's give a warm welcome to our representative from the Public Safety Commission, Chair Eric Shan.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor Paul. As the mayor mentioned, I am Eric. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Commission, and so wanted to welcome everyone tonight. It's great to see so many folks turn up for this. I have the honor of introducing our first speaker from the fire department to talk about evacuation planning in Zone Haven. So Chief Lowley began his fire service career as a volunteer firefighter EMT with the Cordelia Fire Protection District in 1999 before joining County Fire in 2000. As the Deputy Chief of Administration and Planning, he manages the analytical and strategic planning services to support the organization's continuous improvement of service delivery, including the department's CFAI accreditation. He also oversees the Information and Public Affairs Office and the Pre-Fire Management and Wildfire Resilience Program. Chief Lowley has served as a firefighter, engineer, paramedic, fire captain, battalion chief of operations, and interim deputy director of Santa Clara County 911 communications. He maintains a variety of technical rescue, emergency management, and emergency medical certifications. Chief Lowley holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Fire Administration and is a state-certified Chief Officer, Fire Instructor 1, and Hazardous Materials Specialist. Please welcome Chief Lowley.
Well, good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? We're good? Outstanding. Well, I'm here to represent the Santa Clara County Fire Department to speak about our Wildfire Resilience Program. As mentioned in the introduction, we have several arms to our division. This division really deals with the long-range planning, long-range strategic reporting, and as such, we felt that it would be ideal to put our wildfire program underneath it. The response is just a small piece of what we do. The mitigation is a huge factor so that we don't get to the response. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about mitigation today, and then we're going to spend some time talking about how we can best prepare ourselves and safely get out of the way of an incident should one occur. So that's a little introduction for us on our program, or at least on our division. We're here to talk about wildfire preparedness, and we have a few arms of that. Our mission really is to help with evacuation planning, infrastructure protection, hardening plans, so how to harden your home or your property, dealing with grant opportunities for cities so that we can get that work done in your high fire hazard areas, how to make your community fire-wise, dealing with the Fire Safe Council and helping with our community education and risk reduction services, doing defensible space inspections, which we will talk a little bit about in a future slide. And lastly, for you as a community, how you can be wildfire prepared. So that's our mission for the pre-fire management program. We talk a little bit about pre-fire preparedness or community wildfire preparedness. Each year we send out about 10,000 mailings to our community into the high fire severity zones, and the City of Cupertino receives just over 1,200 of those mailings. Now, here we're showing a map of the city. It's not the entire city that gets it. It's those areas that you see that are marked in yellow and red that denote the either very high severity fire zones or the high severity fire zones. Right now, CAL FIRE is in the process of updating those for the entire state, and so these will be updated as well. Those mailings, they're not just a flyer that says, hey, it's that time of year. No, they include information on fuel reduction programs that are available to you, property inspections that are available to you, defensible information, defensible space information, and links to educational webinars that you can go to. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So we talk about the webinars and part of the mailings. Now, I'm pretty sure it's not quite easy to see, but we have a flyer that gets sent out on an annual basis that shows the different webinars that our community education and risk reduction services will put on, either solo or in concert with our wildfire management program. Those are also linked to our website. And so if, let's say, you happen to miss them, you can go to www.sccfd.org. You can go to our community education section of the page, and on that page you will see those videos of those webinars. And so you can play catch up for what you missed, and then you'll be ready for this coming year. Now, we also do wild and urban interface property inspections. And so when we're talking about defensible space, when we're looking at your property to see what can be done to improve that property, to help harden that property, or maybe remove hazardous vegetation, we do those as well. And all of these things happen within about the second quarter, the springtime of the year, before it gets too hot. And so you should look for those. The mailings go out in February, and then the work starts March, April of the year. And so that's when you should look for it if you live in those communities. Again, the information, however, is available year-round on our website. The mission. You look at this road and looks like a normal fire trail, doesn't it? But if you take a close look at it, you can see that it's received some treatment. And this is what we call a strategic or a shaded fuel break, where when you look at the vegetation that's shown here, a lot of it has been cut away from the roadway. And those fuels that are bunched up on the side, those can be chipped and rebroadcast out so that if you have a fire, you have a much lower fire intensity. And so all of that work, it doesn't just happen one time. It doesn't just happen overnight. A lot of times there's a lot of maintenance that has to be done. And so that's what a lot of the work that's happening with our fuel crew, which we'll talk about in a second, that's what they're doing. They're doing those strategic or shaded fuel breaks that you can see. One great example of the benefits of a shaded fuel break is if you happen to go up Highway 17. And if you go up to the summit, you'll see so much vegetation has been cleared away. That is probably the clearest viewpoint that I can say that we've seen in a long time, or the easiest to get to, an example of a shaded fuel break. And we're working on those in the community. Evacuation route hardening. It's not just those fire trails to maybe reduce the intensity of the fire, but also the evacuation routes. You think about where those high fire severity zones are. What do they all have in common? They're usually on a hillside. They usually have lush vegetation, which is why we live there. But what is one of the main commonalities? Are the roads superhighways? No, they're often not that easy to get to. And so we know that for the evacuation route to be safe, we have to be able to see, and we want to have the least amount of fire intensity as possible. And so that's where some of that hardening of the evacuation routes comes up, removing the vegetation so you have lesser fire intensity so you can safely make it down the hill. One of the things that we try to educate on when we talk about evacuation planning and when we do those evacuation drills, when you're driving down the road and you've got your headlights and everything's clear, it's easy to make all those driving decisions, isn't it? But imagine if it's smoky or cloudy, it's hot, you're nervous. It makes it a lot more difficult, doesn't it? It can make it that much more difficult to get down the hill. And quite honestly, it increases the risk of us crashing into one another, doesn't it? And so making sure that we harden those escape routes helps to lessen the risk as we, the community, either evacuates and then we as responders make our way to the fire. Lastly, like it says, infrastructure hardening, telecommunications, technology, water supply. These are all affected by fire. Should the fire impact the power to these, now your water supply is cut off. Now the power to your home, your internet, your phones, all these things get cut off, and now we don't have the information or the water to help put out your fire. So all of these things are how a community helps to harden its infrastructure, and that's what our pre-fire management program does. One of the things that we were very fortunate to receive, we received a pass-through grant to receive monies that allowed us to stand up what's called a fuel management crew. Our first year was this year. We've had a really good season with them. We were able to hire 6 personnel to help with this work, where they help clear vegetation. And we have 1 supervisor, a company officer. We call them a captain. That's a first-line supervisor. Quite often they work on a fire engine, and now they work for vegetation management. And what this grant-funded workforce has done is they help to cut away that fuel in those planned strategic fuel breaks that we talked about, in those the evacuation routes, those planned projects, many of which ties right into our community wildfire preparedness plan. With all of that work that happened back in 2016, the plan that was published and is now under revision, there were projects that were identified that this fuel crew can now work to and help to reduce your hazardous fuel in your environment. Another thing that they're able to do is actually help in emergency response. Again, that's a very small portion of what they do in comparison to the planned work that helps them to remove miles and miles of hazardous fuel. And so that's really what their focus is. So we're not planning to deploy them on every single fire or a small, 50 or 100-foot spot, but really a significant incident, because their main focus is on reducing that fuel before we have the incident. Again, this is a pilot program. We're trying to scale it. We're really looking on expanding the program as time goes forward, and we're really looking at trying to find ways to have consistent and long-range funding for it so that we can expand it and make it a fully functional team. So that's one of our main strategic goals for that program. One of the highlights of the program is the fact that we're able to procure and place in service a wood chipper. This greatly increases the efficacy of the program. As you see in the presentation, we're able to reduce flammable vegetation up to 12 inches in diameter, like this, reduce it down to chipped media. And what that does, that reduces, again, your fuel bioavailability, as well as the fire intensity for your emergency incidents. And so we're really happy to have that. That really helps us to be able to not only reduce the fuel, but to, in a environmentally conscious way, broadcast it back into the environment. And as you can see, we don't have this in movie form, but you can see pretty much a chipper in action. And if you've never seen one of these on the side of the road, they are quite impressive. They're also quite dangerous, but they really do the job well. And so we're really happy to see that at work. So that's a brief overview of the pre-fire management program. Again, it's grant funded. We're looking at expanding it. We're looking at bringing on a community wildfire specialist, which is a position that really helps to plan out and map out those jobs, those different fuel mitigation projects. They work in conjunction with the cities, just like the city of Cupertino here, to plan those projects, to get them on schedule, to make sure that all of the environmental quality aspects have been taken care of, that the community is notified, and that we get to work. And so we'll be excited to bring that person on. But now, in these last few minutes, I'd like to take a moment and talk a little bit about what happens when the mitigation effort fails. What happens when we have an emergency incident and now perhaps our community is at risk? Well, there are ways that you can educate yourself and ways that you can protect yourself. And one of those is by using Zone Haven, and we'll talk about that in a few slides, as well as Alert SCC, which is an alerting platform. These used in conjunction together really help you as a community to know whether or not your community is affected and when you need to leave. And so we'll talk about that now. What is Zone Haven? Well, we've had a lot of education on Zone Haven, not just on the City of Cupertino website, also on the Santa Clara County Fire Department website. I mentioned those videos. The videos that explain Zone Haven are also on the website, and in a slide to come right next, you'll be able to scan the presentation and you can go to the website and see it for yourself. Zone Haven is a tool that helps our communities and first responders plan, communicate, and execute evacuations. It's GIS based. It allows us to see areas that help us to break up the city into evacuation zones. And by doing that, it takes what's really a very difficult process for an incident commander, and it makes it a lot simpler. They're able to pull up the geographic zone, call it out, and then another chief officer can take the ball and roll with that and make the change to maybe an evacuation warning or an evacuation order for that particular area or sets of areas. And then once we do that, we tie in with our personnel there in OEM and with our communication center, and they're the ones that activate Alert SCC, which we will talk about in a second. Again, evacuations are extremely complex. To put it in perspective, what we used to do in the past when we were talking about evacuations, we would pull out a paper map well, I don't see any kids here, but they probably wouldn't know what that is. We'd pull out a paper map and we take a protractor or ruler and we'd draw a vector and we'd say everything in this area we need to evacuate. And that calls into all these cities into effect, or all these streets. Makes it kind of difficult to make that happen easily. What Zone Haven does, it takes all of those GIS boundaries and it pulls it in, and it allows you to, using the Alert SCC, alert within those areas. And so it really simplifies and hastens the ability for us to notify you as the community. So I can't overestimate or talk about how complex it can be and why we're so happy to have it. It really allows you to see where your community stands at a moment's notice. Now, one thing that Zone Haven doesn't do, it's not going to take your phone and ping it and say, go now. It might email you, but not everybody has their emails alerted to or set to alert you. And so that's why having Alert SCC, and if you haven't, just tell me if everybody's good. If you've pulled out the QR reader and everybody's good, okay, we'll move on. That's why it's so important that we have Alert SCC. So I encourage you, if you're interested in learning about Zone Haven, go to the Santa Clara County Fire Department website, go to the City of Cupertino website. You'll see exactly what Zone Haven does and how you can use it and how you can receive alerts for your particular zone, even down to your address. But now, again, as I mentioned, it does nothing if you can't be alerted. And so that's why it's so imperative. It is critical that you sign up for Alert SCC. It's right here. You have the web link. This is the Santa Clara County's official emergency alert system. It's free. It sends you alerts for as it brings out fire, earthquakes, crime, severe weather, and those alerts are sent directly to whatever media you choose. On top of those, we do have wireless emergency alerts, but this is the one that you've opted into that gets you the specific information. And so we implore you, please sign up so that you can be alerted. Just a brief, before I go, point on how an incident can progress. We are hyper vigilant to fires and to the threat to our communities. And we had a fire the other day that escalated very quickly. We had homes that were threatened, but we were able to get out ahead of it and put the fire out pretty rapidly. In the process, the incident commander was able to make the request to put a zone haven zone in an evacuation warning. How would I call it? You have your phase. We'll call it a phase. Anyway, we put it in an evacuation warning, and which was exactly what we should have done. And in the process of going from evacuation warning to alert SCC, right in the middle of that, we were able to contain and control that fire. And so we never had to pull the trigger on the alert SCC notification. And so even though some may have seen an alert or a zone haven change to their zone, they never got that notification. We never got that far. Sometimes that happens. And so that's why it's so important to have all of those pieces together. The last thing I want to talk about with that is social media. Now, I don't really know what that term means, but that's because I'm over 40. But I can't overemphasize the importance of how social media is not just for your entertainment, but it can also be a really good tool for you in the time of an emergency. You can get really up-to-date crowdsourced information about an incident, a fire, an earthquake, just like that. And so while your social media consumption is really a personal matter, I would say be aware of the different points of education that come from social media and where you can go for good information. We have a few listed here. And I would recommend that if you do happen to use social media, this is a good source for you as citizens here. And so, again, the whole thing is making sure that you're informed, not just of how we're trying to mitigate your risk, but what happens when that risk is realized, making sure that you have yourself tied into your zone so you know when you have a threat, and also knowing or being able to be alerted quickly so that you can react quickly, right? The last thing I'm going to say, have your go bag, have your plan. Just the other day, what happened? This supercomputer in my pocket went off immediately with my quake because the earth shook. We weren't moving things in the building was moving itself. And so we're right after, it's October, it's earthquake season for us. So everybody, make sure that you have all of your things together. Make sure that you review the information that we've provided today. All of these things help you be a more educated and aware community, and it helps us as your fire department better serve you. So I thank you for your time, and I'm open to, I'm going to say reasonable questions. Ma'am, I saw your hand.
I've attended a number of the meetings with Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, and there's a number of property owners in unincorporated county who wanted to develop their properties, but now cannot because of the WUI and evacuation, et cetera. And there seem to be some issues with county fire, the state, et cetera. So I'm wondering what the status of that is, and then more importantly, one of the things that we're seeing in all of our communities, and Cupertino as well, is increasing the density of housing on individual lots. And so how is that playing into WUI, especially those 1,000 or so homes that you've already identified in the WUI zone?
That's a great question, and I only heard part of it, but let me make sure I got this right. That first part of your question was dealing with state and or county mandated inspections and how access has to be. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that kind of segued into the more local issue because having gone to these county meetings, There's property owners saying, hey, I can't build a house now. I could build a house before, and now I can't because of the WUI and the evacuation zones and whatnot. And I think it's great that the fire department wants to keep everybody safe. So, but having seen that, how does that segue into what we're seeing, what's going on here locally? And if you can respond to what's going on with the county and those property owners, that would be of interest too, but not necessarily pertinent to Cupertino.
I appreciate you allowing me that deference because that is not my area of expertise. The issues with the current laws and how they affect a homeowner and how they maybe have to provide for a certain amount of defensible space or maybe a certain type of roadway, that really is out of my lane per se. And it doesn't necessarily affect how we use zone haven. It also, when it comes to city planning and the density of your city, that really comes down to the planning department. I can't speak to how a city's plan speaks to the density in a high fire severity zone. But what I can say is that where those pieces come in together is as the property is being developed, the fire department access, the width of the roads, how we can get in, those things are always assessed. Sir. Andy, how are you, sir?
Thank you. Oh, thank you. My name's Andy. Got a quick question for you, Chief. Sitting right next to me is the former Public Safety Commissioner Chair, Commissioner McCoy, who brought the Pulse Point to Santa Clara County. Would you please introduce Pulse Point to all the audience here tonight?
Pulse Point. Okay. Yes. So Pulse Point Respond is an app that it really started off and it's focused around community-based CPR. And so the Pulse Point app, you can download it from your app store of choice, and you can sign up for alerts for your community when there's an incident that's requesting CPR. It will alert you, and you can respond safely to that location to assist. So it's using your geolocation for community-based CPR. There's an additional app that even allows you to, it's not the Pulse Point app, but it's a Pulse Point AED app that allows you to take pictures of AEDs and list them, and then they show up on the map. And so now you have access not just to community-based CPR, but also the AEDs that are so critical when doing CPR. So you can download that. Different organizations can choose what level of information they want to provide. They could have it all locked off, or they could have it where you can even hear what's going on the radio. But most importantly, it was really based on community-based CPR. Go ahead.
I think everyone can hear me. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Does the Pulse Point also, once you sign up, it indicate to you where are the fires around your neighborhood? Is that correct?
It depends on how it's set up per organization. Some organizations only show medical incidents. Some organizations decide to show any and all incidents. So it depends on your organization. So as you use the Zone Haven app, as you click on it, it will show those different evacuation routes. It may not say where to go to, per se. It would depend on the situation. But you can see the video that's on the website, there's a portion where it takes you from kind of a tutorial side to where it actually shows you what was going on live at the Dixie Fire. And it showed that it was, you had your evacuation order zones and your evacuation warnings, and then the advisory sections. And so in all of those, as you click on them, provide the pertinent information. You're welcome.
Is it only for fires or any other incidents also?
It's for other incidents as well. The incident commander has the capability to put an evacuation warning in for anything. So let's say, hypothetically, let's say we had a swarm of bees that was affecting and impacting a part of the city, and we needed to evacuate it. The incident commander could then, as identified, highlight that zone, and hey, they're heading east, and heading east they could change how each zone is playing. So it doesn't have to be for a fire.
Okay, so for what about like few weeks ago we had an incident in Monte Vista about there was a threat for the kids, like there was some fire threat actually. There was somebody with gun and they had a threat. So there was a lot of panic going on in the parents community, and the whole road was jammed actually. So will it help in those situations?
Quite honestly, it could, as far as an advisory. But it's not necessarily set up for an active shooter incident or some other violent incident, which is kind of a centralized incident. It can be used to advise, but you're likely to get more information out of the school, out of your alert SEC that just says, hey, we have an incident. Parents, this is where you're going to pick up your children, things of that sort.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. No further questions? Hearing none? You're going to let me off that easy? All right. Thank you all very much for your time. We appreciate you.
Hello, my name is Bobby Toda, and I'm on the Cupertino Public Safety Commission. Our next topic will be on the 998 Crisis Suicide Prevention Lifeline and Non-Crisis Phone List. And our speaker will be Santa Clara County. He's with the Santa Clara County. His name is Bruce Copley. Bruce has been involved in system design for behavioral health services for more than 35 years. Before coming to Santa Clara County, he was the executive director of the largest behavioral health nonprofit organization in Oregon. For the past 34 years, he has provided executive leadership in the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. His focus has been in developing integrated patient-centered evidence-based behavioral health practices. That's a mouthful. Bruce has been actively involved in the improvements in healthcare through data-driven outcome measurement, improvements in client care through in the passion to develop delivery systems that are based on continuous quality improvement for the residents of Santa Clara County, and in striving to develop integrated care models that address the growing number of individuals with co-occurring health issues. He has also served for many years on the executive committee of the California Alcohol and Drug Program Administrators Association. Presently, he is the director for the County Access and Unplanned Services Division. This division includes the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team and the Mental Health Crisis Response Team under the Behavioral Health Services Department, and he holds a master's degree in clinical psychology from Antioch College. Please welcome Mr. Copley.
Thank you. Thank you very much for asking us to come, Mayor Paul and the commission and commissioners. Also, I want to introduce Lon Nugent, who is actually my administrator for the crisis and suicide line. And if there's particular questions you have in terms of how the crisis suicide works, I'll have him actually answer those for you. So as it was explained, we are here to really talk about the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. For many years, the Behavioral Health Department has had a local number for suicide and crisis services. Those are for individuals that are either in stress, contemplating suicide, or having family members that are in stress. And we have a 24/7 team that actually handles those calls, talks with the individual, helps to de-escalate any stress that the individual has, and also offers community resources both for family members and individuals that are in some crisis, mental health crisis. So what we've done in Santa Clara County is try to simplify the portals for individuals to have access to suicide and crisis services. At the same time, at a national level, the development of a common 988 number throughout all states has been developed and actually was implemented on July 16th. So anywhere in the nation, if someone calls 988, they will be routed to a suicide and crisis center that will assist them in whatever the issues are that they're having. In our department, we also have centralized the suicide mental health crisis teams. We have two teams. We have a youth team and we have an adult team. Those are individuals that work in our department that go out in the community. Family members call, or there are individuals in the community that are in some mental health crisis, appraises the situation, offers assistance both to them and to the family members, and on occasion actually does a 5150, brings them into the emergency psychiatric services for additional services if they're a danger to self or others. The majority of those calls, though, are really talking with the family member or the individual, assessing the information and referring them to appropriate services for mental health or behavioral health services, either in our department or other resources in the community that can assist the family or the loved one that is under a crisis situation. So we have two numbers, two portals to our system now. The crisis line, which is 988, and a non-crisis line. The non-crisis line is for beneficiaries in the Santa Clara County that are seeking behavioral health services, either mental health services or substance use services. We serve two populations, the Medi-Cal eligible population and the uninsured population. And we have 24/7 access for individuals to call that are seeking services. We assess them and we place them in appropriate services within our system of care, which includes residential, outpatient services, family counseling, and prevention services through our prevention unit. If it's a crisis call, they will go through the 988 number, or there is also the local 1-800 number they can still use, which is the original phone number that Lon's group has been using for over 20 years. As I said, the National Suicide Hotline Designation Act was implemented in October 2020 with a start date of July 16th. In California, there are 13 designated suicide and crisis centers. We are one of those centers. So any 988 call in California will be routed to one of those centers. The system allows to identify the area code. So the 3 area codes in Santa Clara County will route the individual to our call center. For other individuals that have other area codes, it will route them to where the particular services is within their area code. So the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, as I said, the previous number was our toll-free number, which is an 855-278-4204. With the new number, we now have the 988, as I've stated, and it will roll out to all counties as of July 16th. As I said, we are also supporting several other counties around the Bay Area, providing them the suicide and crisis support as well. Services are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I said, we provide direct support to individuals because of suicide attempt or feeling they have some self-harm injury they may initiate. Also provide support to individuals who have lost loved ones due to suicide. The emergency department outreach includes survivors of suicide support groups that are run by Lon, and he can talk more in depth about those services, as well as a number of calls. About 20% of the calls are for individuals seeking other community services within Santa Clara County. On a normal day, we get between 100 and 150 calls, somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 calls per month. So it's a very active operation with Lon's group. Lon has both county staff as well as volunteers that provide the suicide and crisis support. We also, as I said, have a mobile outreach program. We have what's called the PERT team, which is Psychiatric Emergency Response Team. These are clinicians that are actually associated with law enforcement. They go out with designated officers in the field, provide clinical assessment for the officer to help the officer determine what is the appropriate intervention for the issue within the community that they are providing services in. We also have the Adult Mobile Crisis Response Team. That's 24/7. It again is a clinical team that goes out in the community and addresses the issue either with a family member that has a loved one that is in crisis or an individual identified in the community that's in crisis, determines what the situation is, what can stabilize the individual, and provides immediate response as well as offers them additional services through our department, either through local treatment or through what we have is called an intensive house outreach team that actually goes out and for 12 weeks works with individuals that may not be engaged with mental health or substance use and really needs additional engagement to help them understand what would be best for them to stabilize their situations and hopefully bring them into treatment to help them stabilize and return to the community. And finally, we have a mobile response stabilization service for youth up to 21 years of age. Again, it is an outreach program that works with families and loved ones. It also provides a crisis stabilization unit for youth that need additional support to stabilize them and to bring them back into the home. And finally, we have a trust program that begins actually in November. And that's going to be a program that is engaged entirely in the community. There's a van that will be available, and they will be out in the community identifying individuals that need help, as well as working with all of you to help understand what would be the best services for them. It's not a law enforcement response, it's a clinical response for individuals. So as I said, 988 is the portal. It has a crisis support programs, as I said, for the crisis teams, and it provides clinical support and resources for loved ones that are experiencing mental health crises. We also have the local number, still the 800 number. I would write this down. This can also get you into Lon's group. If for some reason you're not able to seek somebody from our 988 system, you can call this number and this will route you directly to Lon's team. The non-crisis team number is 800-704-0900. This takes you directly to our screening and placement team that addresses the caller calls. They screen the individual for mental health or substance use and then provides them an appointment within our system so that they can begin to get immediate care. I want to stop there and take your questions. Whenever I talk to individuals, I do want to remind all loved family members that oftentimes we find families attempting to help their loved ones long before they should call us so that we can help them. We're here to really help you and your loved ones, and the earlier you can engage us, the earlier we can begin to support both you and your loved ones and find the best way to stabilize them so that they can remain successfully in the community. Let me stop there. Lon is here to take any questions you might have. Thank you for inviting us. We're really happy to be able to provide you this new 988 system.
Hi. On average, how many calls do you get in a day?
How many calls a day for 988?
Every day we receive an average of 120 to 240 calls.
So somewhere between 35 and 50,000 calls a year? depending on the days and the months. So the team is very active in responding to callers.
Ma'am, can you hold on for just a second? I'll come to you.
Would it be appropriate to call 788 also, with for people in other mental health crises, or only suicide?
No, any crisis.
Any health crisis.
988, we also want to mention that we have a lot of family members who call because they're concerned about another family members or even a concerned friend as well. And we provide support and link them to appropriate resources.
I was just wondering, did I understand you to say that you have to be Medicare eligible and or uninsured to qualify for these services?
The county mental, I'm sorry. If someone has private insurance, we will attempt to link them back with their private insurance for services. So we're the safety net for the county. I'm sorry, yeah.
Besides in English, do they have any other language like Chinese or whatsoever they can get help?
Yeah, yes, we do have a number of bilingual staff as well as volunteers. Because the operation is 24/7, if you call at a time that our bilingual staff might not be available because it's 24/7, we use a language translation line which is available 24/7.
I'm wondering, I'm sure that you get calls that should go to 911 and 911 gets calls that should go to you. How do the two agencies groups interact together to make those decisions? Because some of them might be needed to be very quick.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So in the county there are a number of dispatch centers. The county runs one, but the local jurisdictions also have dispatch centers. So we're still in conversation with them about what would be their decision to refer a 911 non-urgent call over to 988. We're working on that because this is so new, we haven't gotten there yet, but that is definitely something we want to look at.
Do you have a physical location? I mean, you're just a telephone service.
Physical for the...
The reason I ask is whether you have like a clinic or somewhere, something like that, somewhere.
Clinic for treatment?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. I mean, they're all over the county. So there's a clinic up in the Palo Alto area. There's a number of them in the San Jose area, South County. We have outpatient services throughout the county. Is that your question? Yeah. All counties in California have a mental health plan for the safety net. So each county operates a mental health and behavioral health or substance use service. Depending on the size of the county and the revenue, they're larger and smaller. We have a board of supervisors that is very supportive of our services. So we have a lot of enhanced services that many other counties don't have to provide services to our beneficiaries and uninsured individuals.
And just to speak, to dovetail to what you're saying, I can speak to the dispatch center part of it. When the dispatch center receives a call transfer from a 988 center, they process that call as they would any emergency call, and they proceed through that aspect. For the City of Cupertino, when you call 911, you're going to hit the Sheriff's Department public safety answering point. We share the same dispatch center. And so that information, once it's passed through, then gets dispatched out to the appropriate emergency services, be it fire, law, or emergency medical services. And so that's what happens when it gets transferred from a 988 center to an emergency dispatch center.
I also want to stress that under 988 law, either AB 988 within California or federal 988 law, 911 is allowed to, or encouraged actually, to divert mental health related call to 988. And 198, our call center, when we determine that the callers is at risk of self-harm, either thinking about suicide with a plan or harm to others, then that's when we will connect to 911 and determine or request that that there need to be a welfare check from law enforcement. So there's that coordination and collaboration with each other.
So I would like a little clarification on that area code statement made earlier. There's so many people in our community that have area codes from the East Coast, et cetera, et cetera. It made it sound like you get routed to, like if I had a neighbor that had a New York area code, are they going to be routed to somewhere in New York, or is that how I understand? That's kind of what it sounded like.
Yeah, so that's why we gave you that other number.
Okay.
So the problem is we as a county would like to have geolocation available. There isn't a unified consensus in the other 12 suicide crisis centers in California. The pushback is, well, that means then that they'll know where to send the law enforcement. So there's a debate. You know, we believe we need to have geomapping so that we have a better job of connecting the individual appropriately to where those services are. We're not there yet. But good question, very good question. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate the chance to talk with you and let you know what our services are and how we can better serve your community. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to the Public Safety Commission for allowing us and giving this opportunity for us to be able to speak to our community. My name is Lauren Kim, and I am the co-founder of WAY, Wildfire Awareness Initiative, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization comprised of mostly Monte Vista High School students. Our goal is to provide the community with crucial information on how to prepare for and prevent wildfires. We post regularly on Instagram at Way for Change, and please feel free to check us out on Instagram.
Hello, my name is Arna, and I'm the event leader at Way, and I'd like to talk about some of our accomplishments. One of our accomplishments is volunteering with the Santa Clara County Fire Department and organizing around 400 disaster kits for local elementary schools. Additionally, we have hosted multiple webinars and workshops from fire safety to the science behind wildfires, and we often have Santa Clara County Fire Department guest speakers at these webinars. And also this summer, we were able to talk to a lot of Cupertino residents about campfire safety at the Cupertino Campout, which was a really great way to connect with the residents of Cupertino.
And to continue, some of our other accomplishments include we had a fundraiser with Panda Express and raised $900 there. And with that money, we've spent into creating our board here and other flyers that we handed out to local elementary schools. And some of our other accomplishments is we worked with another youth organization on a podcast where we talked about issues with wildfire preparedness and prevention and posted that podcast for other youth to hear on Instagram. And we also, most importantly, have worked with elementary schools. And in the last month, we hosted some online workshops where we worked with students from this USDK 8 district on teaching them the basics of why wildfires are spreading so fast, why there's such a big problem. And we also discussed how firefighters and the government go about combating them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcia Hovey. I'm the executive director of Cadre, which it's that long name, Collaborating Agencies Disaster Relief Effort. We're the network of nonprofits in Santa Clara County that respond to disasters. And tonight I'm here to share some really good new free information about earthquake safety for you. One you probably heard about yesterday. If you don't have the MyShake app on your phone, someone around you did, and so we're here to encourage you to download the QR code and put that on your phone so that you get a few seconds of warning before the earthquake. In addition to that, this evening we're giving away these clear plastic zippered bags, and inside there is a shopping list of emergency supplies you can buy at the dollar store. And all of the supplies you see in these bags for pets and people we purchase at the dollar store. So it's just a way to get you started if you don't have a kit yet. In addition, on our website, all of the information on earthquake safety in your home is there in 17 languages so that there's full access to the whole community. And we're also doing a raffle for a $50 roadside emergency kit.
Hi, I'm Stuart Chesson. I'm a volunteer for Red Cross and a resident here of Cupertino. Yep. Oh, sorry about that. Oh. And we have all sorts of preparedness information here. We have over 300,000 volunteers in the Red Cross, American Red Cross. We have right now 800 people in Florida helping with the hurricanes. And we want you to be prepared. We have emergency apps that are free. So come on over, and we have a lot of things to show you on that.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ruth Darlene. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Women of Silicon Valley, Women SV. And this is a nonprofit that focuses on more subtle forms of abuse that women may experience in middle to upper income areas. Our survivors are doctors, lawyers, engineers, CEOs. They're perpetrators are doctors, lawyers, engineers, CEOs. We like to think that domestic violence doesn't happen in nicer parts of town, but the truth is we're just better at hiding it. So what we do is we offer a lot of different resources. We run a helpline, we have a support group, we connect women with resources. We create a personal relationship with every survivor that reaches out to us for assistance. And we have survivors from all different races, all different religions, from all over the world. But what makes them all sisters is this common experience of being trapped in a relationship with a powerful, sophisticated abuser who has one face in public and another very different one behind closed doors. So what we do is we help empower survivors to help them recognize what early warning signs of coercive control look like, what more subtle forms of abuse look like, emotional, financial, legal, technological. We connect them with resources and lift them up and encourage them and give them new hope. We also do presentations out in the community, like this one tonight, and we also train providers to help them become more trauma-informed in dealing with domestic violence survivors in middle to upper income areas. So we've got our table tonight. We have our wonderful lead advocate, Sarah, here, and our wonderful advocate volunteer, Nguyen. Please drop by and say hello or visit us online at womensv.org. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marlon. I'm with the City of Cupertino's Transportation Division. I'm an engineer, and I'm here alongside my colleague, Shri Walkowiak. She's our Safe Routes to School coordinator. We have a table outside. As I said, we're part of the Transportation Division, and we're highlighting two programs that we have for the city. One is the Safe Routes to School program, as well as our Neighborhood Traffic Calming program. The Neighborhood Traffic Calming program helps aid local neighborhood safety issues such as speeding, if that's something that neighborhoods are interested in reducing speeding in their neighborhood. Feel free to stop by our table. We have information on that as well. And Shri, do you have anything for Safe Routes?
Safe Routes to School is all about getting more kids to walk and bike to school. So come on by if you have any questions.
Good evening. How about another round of applause for all the table presentations? My name is Alan Reddy. I'm a member of Public Safety Commission. Next up is a presentation on green blocks by two speakers. I'm going to introduce both of them. First one is Meredith Gerhardt, Emergency Management Analyst. Meredith Gerhardt joined the City of Cupertino Office of Emergency Management in November 2021 as an emergency management analyst. In this role, she coordinates with city staff and with agencies and organizations from around the region to plan for emergencies. Meredith is passionate about inclusive emergency planning and community management at the local level. She believes in the value of taking the time to build collaborative relationships well before a disaster strikes. Outside of work, Meredith volunteers with the Contra Costa County Search and Rescue Team and spends as much time as possible outdoors. The second speaker is Victoria Morin, Outreach Coordinator. Victoria is our Outreach Coordinator for Sustainability and Environmental Programs. After obtaining a degree in Sustainable Program Design from UC Davis, she went on to teach the community about composting and the importance of food waste reduction. Victoria started with the City of Cupertino in 2020 and has helped develop programs and policies for climate action, water conservation, alternative transportation, and waste reduction. She also coordinates community events such as our city's Earth and Arbor Day Festival. Outside of work, Victoria is an outdoor enthusiast and spends her time backpacking and rock climbing. She has been a great partner in developing our new Green Blocks program. Victoria.
Thank you. I'm Meredith Gerhardt. I'm an emergency management analyst here with the city. I'm standing in tonight for Marta Drown, who is our community outreach coordinator and the city point of contact for the Block Leader program. We know that communities where residents know one another and spend time with one another are more resilient. They're more engaged and they're safer places. With this in mind, the city developed the Block Leader program after 9/11 to build community cohesion. Our block leaders share information between the city and the neighborhoods where they serve. They serve as a conduit for information flowing both ways, and they host events, the events that help you all get to know one another if you don't already. If I didn't start out by saying this, I apologize. If you haven't checked in and you are a block leader tonight, if you could do that on your way out, that would be great. In 2020, I have two roles tonight and I already forgot one. Who are block leaders? In 2020, the Block Leader program is evolving. It's growing with the community we serve over the past 20 years. Now we're at a point where the program includes about 360 engaged, active residents. And this year, Marta and the Office of Emergency Management together looked at ways to grow the program, to help it evolve to meet the changing needs of our city. And what they've come up with are program changes, provisions for keeping those of you who are currently block leaders engaged, and growing the program, increasing the number of people who are participating as block leaders and increasing the level of community awareness around what it is that block leaders do. In 2022, 2023, there are quarterly meetings planned with targeted, focused topics. There are increased opportunities for training, and the goal of these program changes is to meet the continuing needs of our existing block leaders and, again, to grow the program. There's a lot of moving parts up here. There's a button I have to push. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tori.
Hello, everyone. Before I get started, I'm going to ask for some audience participation. If everyone could raise your hand who's a block leader. I know we have some block leaders in the house. All right. Thank you so much for coming. That's great to see so many faces. And you guys are the best part of our community. So second question, raise your hand if you've had a conversation with a friend or neighbor in Cupertino about solar panels. Anyone who's had solar panels on their roof? How about electric vehicles or electric charging stations? How about the drought? Has anyone talked about the drought with friends? Yeah. So those types of topics are what our Green Blocks curriculum is for. How about, have any of you heard about our climate action plan? Fewer? All right, so this climate action plan, one of our measures is to work on adaptation and community resilience. And the Green Blocks program is a direct result of that climate action plan to try to work with Office of Emergency Management to come together on climate disasters. So in a nutshell, Green Blocks is a train-the-trainer type of program. City staff, including myself and Marta, can meet with block leaders, and anyone can join if you're not a block leader already, and we'll work with you on talking through this curriculum, having custom videos that we've produced, workshops, and so much more. These resources are to help your neighbors become more sustainable and prepared for emergencies. So in this climate action plan, we surveyed a lot of folks to help inform it. And we found out that 90% of our residents who responded think that climate change is a major concern. So we need to start doing something about it. So in the slide here, you can see the Stevens Creek Reservoir. That's just one example of how our community is being impacted by this changing climate. So the Green Blocks program is a really great program, and you need no previous knowledge of sustainability. I just want to put that out there. Anyone can do this. So this is a big problem, and we have tools and lessons for climate change impacts and how to protect ourselves. Over 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions in Cupertino come from 5 household activities. Electricity use, heating our homes, transportation, our food choices, and the waste that we create. The Neighborhood Green Blocks program can help you take a look at these actions and prepare for emergencies together. And doing this, you can empower your block to be a safer, greener, healthier, and better place to live. So, the city did develop this climate action plan, but we can't do it all on our own. We're looking to you as block leaders to be the leaders in our community. So if you're interested at all in sustainability and you're a Cupertino resident and you want to work on this, we ask you to sign up. And so just to go into some details about how it works, so you can team up with anywhere from 3, 4, 5 to up to 8 people from your neighborhood or friends. You meet with these people for 1 to 1.5 hours, depending on your schedule and what works for you and your group. We recommend between every 2 to 4 weeks. And you go through this curriculum and these resources that we'll give you all in a packet and help you talk through it with these PowerPoints and talking points. And so you can actually be the leader in your community with the information we're giving you. And it really fosters a sense of community, and you get to know your neighbors and work with them to help install their solar panels or answer the questions about electric vehicle chargers. So it's a really great program, and it really does have options for everyone. Everything from smart thermostats to understanding where your bus stations are and rebates that you've gotten for your electric vehicle. And it's just a great way to team up with your fellow neighbors. And I know this slide has been in a previous presentation, so I won't spend too much time on it, but one thing that you can do tonight, if you're not already there, is to text your zip code and sign up for these alerts. And if there's any questions, Marta's email is on the screen here, and she'd be the one to contact to get started. So thanks so much.
It's me again. This time, next topic is Citizen Core Network, to talk about it. Can you hear me? We have Ken Erickson to talk about it. Ken has been the Citizen Core Coordinator for over 15 years and is a resident of Cupertino. Ken has developed strong ties to the community and continues to build relationships with the neighborhoods through the Citizen Core Network. Ken?
Okay, good evening. Thank you. And it's great to see so many block leaders here. Like it was mentioned before, you're the core, the part that builds the community. And so what we want to do is continue with that. With this next section here is how the residents respond. This is something that we all, particularly, may have an opportunity to address. But what is it that we want to be able to do? Is you are the responder. I think if we look at something that happens, and this is kind of the definition of an emergency. Has anybody had one of these? Maybe had one or two, that type of thing. And normally, those are the things that cause us to act. And when we want to do that, we want to be able to do it safely. And what do we do? How do we do it? Are the things that we want to look at. But here in our area, what are the different types of things that we have to consider for an emergency? And we plan for, and we work with, and we've been through, and still dealing with some of the pandemic. But these are the things that we have in our community, in our country, county, state, and around the world. But the big thing is, what can we do, as an action? And the big thing for us is your safety is number one. There's a number of different events and activities that happen, and the people that respond sometimes cause more injuries, cause more issues. I think if you talk to some of our responders and that, you talk to the volunteer responses, and we want to be able to do that safely, okay? And to be able to work with our partners. But to be able to assess the situation, what is going on? What is it that's causing that? And is that something that could affect me or my family or the situation that I'm in? And then how and what additional resources can I get? And what are available, and how do I get them or request those? And so we've got some of these things. These have happened in our area. There's even, just a little picture of a traffic accident. When we're talking about an emergency, it can be the smallest thing. It could be a cut finger. It could be a pan fire. It could be, any of these different types of things. And this is where we want to be able to have, what is it that I do? What can I do? It says, now what? If it's a pan fire, if it's a finger, if it's a car accident, if it's an earthquake, any of those different types of things, there's certain steps and basic training things that you can use that apply to all of these types of emergencies. And we want to be able to give you those tools so that you're able to do this safely. And a lot of times, normally day to day, if you call 911, our response time is a few minutes. We're getting there from the fire department, the sheriff, or EMS, is those people are there pretty quickly. And you're on the phone with them, and they can walk you through those types of things and what you should be doing. If it's a medical event, they'll tell you what you should be doing based on what you tell them, okay? And you can get, they'll tell you how to do CPR. They'll tell you how to stop bleeding. They'll tell you how to put the person into a different position. These different types of things that are trained to do that. And the thing that we want to do is also think about, that works on the day-to-day, but if something happens and our responders are delayed, okay, you're on the phone, but now instead of a few minutes, it might be 10 minutes, it might be 15 minutes, or if we have an earthquake and it's in a regional thing, it might be hours, okay? So those are the types of things that you need to know. How do you take care of yourself, and what resources can you do? But what we want to share with you is, did I double click? But basically, your safety is number one. And, how do you assess it? And how do you request the assistance? On a day-to-day, it's a 911 call. If communications are down, what is the system in place within the city so that you can request additional resources? We have a system throughout the city so that you can report your situation. You know, if the communication system's down, we have a system to work with that and get your 911 call to the dispatch center and let the city know what's going on, okay? But all of the training that we have and things that we do to make sure that you're safe and your family's safe and your neighborhood is safe are all free trainings that we offer so that we can help you through that 911 call and you'll know what to do to the time where it's extended response from an earthquake or something major that might happen or might be impact or just your local area. It might be a delayed response. So those are the types of trainings that we offer for you. And to communicate, to work together and all have the same kind of training and same kind of response, the city knows that it's all an organized type of response. Our responders know that the city is working together under the city's, whoop, must have double clicked. But then it's a coordinated response throughout the city and they know what's going on and how we're gonna operate. And then the other thing is that it's all things that the city knows that that's what we're gonna do. So we're not out there doing things and the city hears about it and they're going, you're doing what? You know, because it could be very dangerous. It could make the situation worse or whatever this, you know, is going on. So we want to be able to work within the framework of what the city wants us to do and the kind of information and things that the city needs from us as residents to be able to respond. So we do offer this training. It's all through the Citizen Core group. We do these things. We've had excellent resources and different people that are here sharing the information that's going on. And we all work together and share and have the same information, the same message. So those are the things that really help our partners. They know when we show up or they show up and they're at the emergency that we're doing the similar types of things. We're taking care of medical things. We're taking care of the situation so we're not making it worse or making it dangerous for ourselves or the responders that are coming. So those are the things that we offer through our Citizen Core, and there's 3 groups. It's the CERT, Neighborhood Emergency Response that happens, and that's all the organization and bringing the different pieces together. The medical response, which is, since we don't have a hospital in this area, it's one of the things that we need to be able to address over a little bit longer period of time sometimes until we can get people to a hospital. And then the amateur radio, that's the backbone communication that we have, and it's used throughout the country and around the world. So that if systems don't work on communications, we're gonna use amateur radio, and that's what's here. And it's all residence-based. It's your neighbor. It's the person across the street. You as the block leader. You bring these things together, and it's a different conversation that we can all have that affects us all. And it may not be talking about garbage cans being left out too long, but it's something that we can all identify with that is kind of a neutral thing that affects us all, okay? So those are some of the things that we have. And we have a table out here if there's any other questions or things, but we'd love to be able to engage with you. And it's everybody within the city has the same type of, you know, here, okay? Any questions? Good. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Louis Toma. I'm with the Santa Clara County's Office of Emergency Management and also County Fires OEM as well. Just want to let you know that we got a table back here as well to let people know about the Alert SCC program and other programs for community response, engagement, preparedness, and we'll be happy to discuss or engage any member of the community that would like to join. We definitely want to say a big thank you to City of Cupertino's Office of Emergency Management for having us here. It's great working with a an OEM that's so proactive and so robust. And thank you to all the other partners here, of course, County Fire, the Sheriff's Department, American Red Cross, Cadre, and all the other public safety organizations here. So thank you so much. And County OEM does have a table if anybody hasn't already engaged, would like to do so. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Terry Gerhart. I'm here with the GIS division of the City of Cupertino, Andy Vidal. And we have a table in the front. We are showcasing 2 apps today. One is our Service Finder, which is kind of a one-stop GIS mapping hub where you can find all the services that Cupertino provides, everything from meetings to Parks and Rec to crime data, hazard data. It's really the whole gamut of city services. So please check it out. You can get to it from our homepage, from the city's homepage. If you click on the maps icon, it'll bring you right there. And then we're also showcasing our 301 app.
So what's great about our 311 app is it gives you guys a direct voice, a direct link to city staff. It is tied into our asset management software, so public works staff can react and respond to these requests as quickly as possible. The great thing about it is you're going to stay in the loop throughout the entire process of the requests that you submit. So we are out here. We'd love to give you guys more information about it. We have QR codes, so if you don't already have the app, you can go ahead and download it. And we just want to get these apps that we have out there to you guys so you guys understand and you guys can share with other residents and let them know some of the awesome stuff that the City of Cupertino is providing.
Good evening. I'm Ted Honey from PG&E, and I have a 12,000 volt diorama back here, and I can show you how live electricity works on your house. And when it comes in contact with the car, or if it's on the ground, what to do. Maybe a few household tips for dealing with electricity inside the house. So please feel free to come back and give you a live demonstration on how all this works.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amy Fonseca. I am with Valley Water. We are the flood protection, stream stewardship, and water provider for Santa Clara County. Great to be here. As you know, we are in a drought emergency. So not only are we asking people to say yes to saving water, but also to get flood ready. It's actually California Flood Preparedness Week this week, which is a statewide initiative from the Department of Water Resources to get residents flood ready and prepared. So today I have an example of a 3-day emergency kit, what you'd want to have. It's great for floods, but also earthquakes. I have information on putting together a family emergency plan. And I also have a nice giveaway. It's an emergency starter pack, so come by and see me. I'm also happy to provide any information on the drought. You can also visit our website, valleywater.org, if you have any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to introduce Captain Neil Valenzuela, who will be speaking to us on crime and safety. Captain Valenzuela began his career with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office in 2001 and has over 20 years of law enforcement and managerial experience. Throughout his career, Neil Valenzuela has worked various assignments, including patrol, where he worked for the cities of Cupertino, Saratoga, and Los Altos Hills. He later worked as a headquarters detective investigating missing persons cases and child abuse crimes. He later returned to the West Valley Division, where he investigated high-tech crimes, identity theft, burglary, and fraud. Upon his promotion to sergeant, Neil Valenzuela transferred to the investigator position for the County Counsel's Office, investigating incidents of high liability throughout the county of Santa Clara. Upon his promotion to lieutenant, he was the assistant division commander for West Valley Patrol. Neil Valenzuela was then transferred to lead the Internal Affairs Unit from 2015 to 2019. In 2019, he returned as the Assistant Division Commander for the West Valley Division alongside of Captain Rich Urena. In 2022, he was promoted to captain and was assigned as the Sheriff's Liaison for Stanford University Department of Public Safety. Captain Valenzuela is a U.S. Army veteran with an honorable discharge, holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Social and Criminal Justice, an Associate of Arts in Administration of Justice, and is a graduate of the City of Cupertino's Leadership 95014 program. His certifications include certificates for California Post Advanced, California Post Management, and California Post Intermediate Academy Instructor. Captain Valenzuela has received numerous commendations throughout his career, including Cupertino's Chamber of Commerce Officer of the Year, De Anza Optimist Club Officer of the Year, City of Cupertino Certificate of Appreciation, and a Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors Certificate of Commendation. Please welcome Captain Neil Valenzuela.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Valenzuela, as you guys just heard my introduction. I will be replacing Captain Rich Urena in December as your police chief for the City of Cupertino, and I'm eager to come back. I've been at Stanford for the last year, so I wanted to come back and work for the City of Cupertino. So what I have here today is a small presentation regarding crime statistics. We're going to talk about robberies, we're going to talk about residential burglaries, and we're also going to talk about catalytic converter thefts. We're going to discuss vehicle burglaries and what we've been doing for community policing over the last couple of years. Hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. So what I have up here is a graph or chart basically of the crimes that we have in the City of Cupertino. What we did is we took the same time frame from January to September, just compared from the year before to what we have now. As you guys can see, in robberies, we've had a couple more than we've already had the previous year. And what I mean by robbery is the crime of robbery is defined as when somebody takes something by force or fear. Okay, so a simple theft where nobody was harmed or nobody even knew about it, that wouldn't classify as a robbery. And I'll go a little bit more into detail when we get to the robbery section of the presentation. Residential burglaries, as you can see, we've had 5 more this year than the previous year. Residential burglary, what that essentially means is when somebody breaks into your house and takes property. Right below that, we have commercial burglary. Commercial burglary is like businesses that are burgled overnight or when they're closed. And then you have underneath that vehicle burglary. And vehicle burglary is when somebody breaks into your car and takes something from your car. As you can see, we've had a significant increase on that in vehicle burglaries over this last year. Grand theft is defined by the penal code as anything over $900, and so anything with that value is classified as a grand theft. Anything below that is considered a petty theft. As you can see, we've had a 33% increase from last year to this year. Auto theft. We've had one more auto theft in this year than we did the previous year. And we've also, crime has increased in vandalism section as well too. When it comes to identity theft, this is the crime where somebody takes your identity. Mostly it's a financial crime. They'll either access credit cards or bank account information, and they'll pretend that there's somebody they're not, committing a theft in that manner. As you can see, we've had one more case this year than the previous year. Domestic violence, we had 45 from January to September 2021 to 34 this year. There is a significant drop. However, these are things that are sometimes not reported as often, so we need to be better about reporting these to us so that we can investigate and prosecute these crimes. We have underneath that as assaults. This is simple assaults where somebody was harmed or hit or hurt, and you can see that there was a 35% increase from the previous year to this year. And then lastly, we have sex crimes, which are, there's a variety of crimes that fall under that. And if anybody has any questions about those, we'll be more than happy to talk to you about it or answer any questions about those. And we see there's a 6% increase from those from previous years. This chart here has a 10-year graph of robberies in the city. We're going back to 2013 to present, and we're only using the data that comes in from January, September to kind of compare ourselves to the previous years. As you can see, we've gone up and down with our robberies over the last couple of years. There was a significant decrease of it and all crime for the most part during 2019 and 2020 because we were mostly home during the pandemic. And so there was a big decrease in that specific crime during that time. We're at 18 so far, but that's 18 too many, so we have to do better about this and bring that number or let that number stay where it is. When I talked about robberies and when somebody takes something from you by force or fear, sometimes there could be a weapon involved, and this chart kind of breaks it down a little bit for you guys to see that that in 12 of the 18 cases there was no weapon involved. There's just force or fear, which means that they either forcefully took something from somebody, no weapon involved, and on the other one there's 6 cases where there was a weapon involved in the robberies. Location type, we have it here as residential and commercial. What this breaks it down for is like, did this occur around a residential area, or did this occur in a commercial area, like a shopping area, like Main Street Cupertino or something like that, okay? And you can see that 72% of them occurred more in the commercial setting. We're talking about types of robberies because there's several types of robberies. Obviously, you guys probably heard of bank robbery, and that's probably the one that first comes to mind. And as you can see, we've done pretty well in that region to keep it down to 0. When it comes to demand or fear, we've had 5 of them. Force or snatch or grab, we've had 13 of those. Essentially, people with shopping bags or purses and more of a forced grab or a forced snatch from somebody, okay? Well, I forgot to add in there that as of October, we've solved 39% of those robberies. Our detectives work really well. We have a lot of surveillance that's put up around the city, and so they check surveillance, they check leads, and make sure that we arrest the suspects in these crimes. Talk about residential burglaries here for a little bit. What this chart does, it kind of breaks down a little bit about what day of the week these burglaries are occurring. In 29 of the reported burglaries, we didn't know exactly when it occurred. It's usually when somebody's on vacation for a couple weeks or over the weekend, and their house was unattended for several days, so we don't really have a time frame of when it occurred. But in situations where a person's away for a day and can tell us it for sure happened on a Tuesday, you can see that out of all the days during the week, we have the most during a Tuesday. And then the other graph down here below kind of gives you a screenshot of where we're at with burglaries, as you can see. And this is the same time of data from January to September, from 2013 to present. We had a big, significant increase back in 2015. Overall, we're doing okay, but we can always do better. One of the things what I'll talk about in our community policing is how we try to curb this by providing some resources to the communities and the residents by how to protect themselves and not be victimized from burglary. Okay. This chart here breaks down a little bit more granular information regarding burglaries. We have a very good criminal analyst at our substation. She takes these reports, she puts this data in, and she is able to put this information out because people always ask us, when are these occurring? Are these occurring at nighttime? Are they occurring during the daytime, during the weekend? And so she does a really good job of kind of breaking down each crime and putting it down so that you guys have that information of when burglaries are occurring in your city. As you can see, 61% of it is multiple days or the day unknown. These are, again, when people are away for several weeks or maybe a weekend. Early morning, You can see that we have some from 12 a.m. to 7 a.m. We have about 5%. During the daytime, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., we have about 14%. And in the evening hours, anywhere from 5 p.m. till midnight, about 20% of those burglaries are occurring during that time. On the other hand, over here we have, how do the people break into the house? And that's a common question that we get all the time. As you can see by this chart here, the majority is a broken glass slider, which is a very common way for suspects to break into houses. The back door, broken slider glass door. You can see that there's also where they either broke or cut a lock, which is about 28%, where they forced or kicked or pried open a window, open a garage door or a window break. How many here have an actual alarm system installed in your residence? And I'm going to show of hands. Okay. And a moment of honesty though, how many actually turn it on every single time they leave? You see how the number went down a little bit. Utilize that alarm system. Even if you're just going to go out for a few minutes or you're going to go get dinner, turn it on. And if it's a false alarm, it's a false alarm, but we'll respond out there and make sure to do a check of your residence if you're not home, where you have to turn on that alarm. And make sure that if you do have an alarm and you turn it on, that you have it properly installed in windows and your back sliding door, so that if any entry is made to your residence, we can respond immediately. Okay? A lot of people installed alarms, but for some reason forgot to put things like the window sensors on the second floor or the window sensors up on the back doors in the second floor. So we have to make sure we're better about that. There's a lot of alarm systems out there. If you ever want a deputy to come out to your residence and give you some recommendations on how to better protect your home, you can always call us and schedule an appointment with one of our deputies to come out and give you a risk assessment of your residence, where you could install a camera if you wanted to, an alarm, lights, or other things around your house to protect yourself, okay? This map over here is where we had our residential burglaries over the last couple of months. As you can see, they're kind of sporadic all throughout the city, primarily occurring more in our central area here, below Stevens Creek, all the way through Lawrence Expressway and coming back all the way to Foothill for the majority of part of our burglaries. All right, the next thing we talk about is the catalytic converter theft, which seems to be something that's occurring a lot in our town, and the crooks are doing this because they can get away really fast, and they can sell them for very cheap, usually from anywhere from $150 to $200 each. And the people that buy them are breaking down the materials inside the catalytic converter, such as platinum, which they can get from one of those catalytic converters. How many here drive a hybrid? Hybrid vehicles are the most targeted vehicles for catalytic converter thefts, and that's because the catalytic converter is usually cleaner than most other vehicles, and so the materials inside of it are better to get. How many here drive a Tesla? You don't have a catalytic converter, so don't worry about it. As you can see here in this graph, I'm going to show you how they've increased over the last couple of years. Starting in 2018, it wasn't really a crime that we were dealing with. In 2019, we had 2. In 2020, we had 41. As you can see, they just increase and increase and increase. Our deputies have caught multiple people stealing catalytic converters. They're very, very quick, seconds. They're in and out, and they'll take out the catalytic converter. We've stopped multiple cars and arrested people with like 5 or 6 catalytic converters in the back of their cars, and we take them to jail. But this is a problem crime right now. The DA's office is putting in charge to most recycle centers not to accept catalytic converters. So whenever they're stealing them, they have to turn them to some other place that's breaking them down, refining them for their natural materials. So as you can see down at the bottom of the vehicle make and model that's most targeted, Toyota Prius is at 46%. The Honda Accord is at 37%, and then other vehicles are at 17%. This graph here breaks down vehicle burglaries over the last 10 years or so, using the same data snapshot from January, September. As you can see, there was a significant increase during the pandemic because people were not checking their cars and leaving them out there for very long periods of time. And so that's how the crooks were trying to get things to steal, was to just break into cars that were left out there in front of people's houses. So we're doing better than we were during the pandemic right now, but again, we can always do better. Don't feel that you're bothering us or wasting our time. If you see a suspicious vehicle driving back and forth or checking door handles, give us a call. We'll come out and check on the situation. I want to talk about our community policing real quick and just the things that we've done. We do have a program called Lattes, which is a program where we'll have our squad room briefing at a coffee shop, and you guys are welcome to attend. You guys can hear what the deputies are hearing before they go out on shift, and you guys can interact with our staff and ask questions if you guys want. We also have a teen academy which we run, so anybody in the teen area of their high school can attend an academy through us, where we teach them things like first aid, it's CPR, and other things that they can learn so that they can be a valuable member of their community. All right, our West Valley substation is located at 1601 South De Anza. There's our non-emergency line. Please write that number down. If you dial 911 from your cell phone and you're on the freeway, you're going to get California Highway Patrol. It's going to go straight to them. So if you want to talk to us and you want the sheriff's office to come out, 299-2311. You can always call 911. You can also text 911 if you can't call 911. And then our administrative offices are 868-6600, and there's our address if you guys ever want to come down and talk to us and interact with some of our staff there. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you very much for your time. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Which one? I'm sorry, this one? Okay, yes. Over here I have Lieutenant Jason Brown, who's, by the way, the Assistant Division Commander, and he can answer. What's the age for the Teen Academy?
Oftentimes we'll have a teen academy, we also have a community academy. Community academy can be for adults. Teen academy is usually those that are in high school, about to enter high school, or freshly graduated from high school, usually 18, 19 and below.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, Andy again. Could you comment on the high-tech crime like hacking and stealing people's identity, things like that?
Yeah, I could go on for hours. That was actually one of my primary specialties when I was a detective, was working high-tech crimes, and they're very sophisticated. Again, be careful with these emails, these text messages that say your package wasn't delivered, and they ask you to log into your Amazon account, or they say you've been logged out of your bank account. Please provide your PIN or your card number. Be careful with things like that. Companies don't do that. They won't solicit information from you. You have to contact them, and then they'll ask you questions about your bank account information. So just be careful. Anything suspicious, don't click on it. Any phone calls you get from people pretending they're the sheriff's office asking for money, we don't do that. Okay, that happens every now and then, especially around Christmas time. We start getting phone calls that you may have a warrant, so they need money to clear it out. That's not the way the system works. So, question over there? Yes.
Yeah, hi, Manin here. What time of the day or the evening do vehicle burglaries occur?
The vehicle burglaries?
Yeah.
They're occurring mostly, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was here, they were mostly overnight, especially in the residential areas. They will, these guys will just drive in and they'll hit a bunch of cars that are parked there. And so that's why it's very important that when we work together with our communities, and they say, if you see somebody suspicious walking around, looking at cars, we often see posts on Nextdoor where they say this person was checking door handles. Please call us. We don't have somebody assigned to Nextdoor that can actually see those threads. We'll have to respond out there right away and make contact with that person and see what they're doing. They may be simply locked out of their vehicle, but at least we'll find that out. Yes?
Hello. I wanted to ask a question that I know is maybe not quite so much a sheriff's issue, but the first reaction of my neighbors is, what is the sheriff doing about it? There's the woman who's homeless on North Portal in Stevens Creek. She's been there for a few weeks now. What can we do as a community, about this?
So we are doing something about it, and it's not necessarily us, but the city, along with the county, is trying to provide some resources for her. I can't go too much into detail about what they're doing. We do have a psychiatric emergency response team assigned to the substation in Cupertino. I've heard some people say that sometimes she walks around in traffic or she's disoriented. That's the time to call us, because we can have somebody go out there, immediately assess her mental health. So without going too much into detail, please call us if there's anybody that's being unsafe or might be a threat or to themselves, and give us a call right away. Yes?
I have a question on that chart where you had the numbers of the number of home burglaries or car thefts. Were those numbers of crimes reported, or were those the numbers of arrests?
Those are the number of crimes reported. So
what is the percentage of those actually arrested and prosecuted for these?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but if you do get the information letters from Cupertino, we sometimes publicize when we do make a large arrest on a burglar or somebody that's been committing residential burglaries. We'll put that information out, social media or to the city of Cupertino.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
In terms of high-tech crimes, is there a way that you can have some information on your website about how to have device security and laptops and stuff like that? Many of the kids really do not understand it. Of course, the phishing part of it, I understand. I mean, phishing is completely a different this thing, but just minimal kind of device security.
Yeah, we actually have some pamphlets over here at the table where we discuss ways to prevent yourself from becoming a victim of identity theft. There's multiple ways that suspects get victim information simply by putting a skimmer sometimes on card readers. That could be a way that they get their information. So there are some pamphlets, some information over there where it gives you tips and ways to prevent yourself from being a victim of identity theft. That's me. Yes.
Captain, first my apologies. I think on behalf of the community, I'd like to congratulate your promotion. So first, my apologies.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to Cupertino. And follow up to this gentleman's question in terms of high-tech crime, because we are in Silicon Valley, and we're really nervous about our kids, particularly. If possible, I'd like to request the sheriff's office, could you maybe create a new seminar for us in terms of not only prevention, but also like if my kid's phone got hacked or computer got hacked, can you help us, some recommendation in terms of cleaning it up?
Absolutely.
Post-hacking, yeah.
Yeah, so. we can touch base offline, and we can always come up with something, and we can create some kind of presentation. We have a lot of high-tech crime detectives assigned to our organization, so they do presentations every now and then, and they go out and talk to the community. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I do. Over in West Valley, we have a fantastic group of SROs, school resource officers, and they go out each and every year and they provide presentation upon presentation, not only to schools, but a lot of times to the parents and some of the administrators. And one of the presentations that they provide on an annual basis to just about every student and a lot of times to parents is on high-tech crimes, how to protect yourself on social media, internet stuff. But they provide that to the students and the parents. So that information is being passed on. Hopefully everybody's able to attend those, but your students, your children, should be getting some of that information from our SROs on pretty much an annual basis.
Thank you. Yeah, anytime you have any questions about anything, our doors are open to, and like I said, we do have some resources and some information over here that how to prevent you from being a victim of identity theft and high-tech crimes. Yes.
So I have a Prius, and I have a steel plate covering it.
Good.
How often does that stop people from stealing?
As far as I know, it stops them all the time because they want to be there a few seconds. So, yeah, I think the future is probably going to be where automobile manufacturers are probably just going to be installing those from here on out. But it's a good way to prevent it. They don't want to be in and out in seconds, so they don't want to waste their time with a cover.
Hi.
Commercial burglaries increased by 42%, which is the highest. Can you comment on what they are? What are commercial burglaries?
Sure. Lieutenant Brown, you want to take that first?
So there are a couple different ways a commercial burglary can occur. It can be the business is closed for the night and somebody can break in, maybe looking for tip jars or cash registers. But they can also occur during the day. It's kind of a technicality on how a burglary occurs versus a theft. But somebody entering in with some kind of intent to steal something can also be classified as a burglary. Why that skews a little bit is because a petty theft, somebody going into shoplifting, could end up being classified as a burglary because they brought some kind of tool in to take an item from the store. Crime trends are going to go up and down. And maybe one year it'll be vehicle burglaries, maybe one year it'll be commercial burglaries. But a lot of it has to do with kind of the groups that are centered around a specific area, whether it be within town, within the county. And right now what we're finding is there are a lot of people going around breaking windows of burglaries, commercial businesses, maybe making entry into the business, maybe stealing a tip jar with $13 worth of change in it that we left in there for the person that helped us get our food. But a lot of times that's it, and they're leaving. Now, that may sound minor to a lot of people, but at the same time, it's very serious to us because it's a burglary. And to us, a burglary is a burglary is a burglary, and we're going to investigate it, and we're going to document and report it the same way. And it may show up as a burglary, but while the same token, it's not that we're going in and we're stealing everything inside. It's classified as a burglary because it fits the penal code section and the elements, but it may not be the typical, what we all think of when we think of a burglary, that I'm going in there and I'm going to steal a bunch of money or I'm going to take everything from inside. And maybe something minor like breaking glass, going in there, and even getting a cup of soda from the soda machine and walking out. That's still a burglary because you're taking something and you're entering because you're entering to do some kind of felony. So we're seeing an increase, and although we're seeing an increase, we're also seeing that it's for things like just breaking glass and going in, moving some things around and leaving. That is something that I've noticed in this year, is that we're getting a lot of these burglaries that aren't your typical burglary. Someone's just going in, doing something weird a lot of times, and then leaving, but it's still a burglary. Yes?
Can you hear me? Okay. I live on Blaney, right near Merritt Drive. We got two schools, okay, right over there. And cars come down off that hill, off the freeway hill. Oh. Okay. and this is in the morning when you got all the kids coming to school, and these cars are zipping down the bicycle lane or the parking lane, and they're doing 30, 40 miles an hour in there. Now, I have cameras that record all this stuff, and I could have license plate numbers for all these cars. If I gave you the videos, could you use them?
We could go talk to the offenders, but we can't issue a citation unless our deputies actually physically see the violation occurring in front of them. We don't go off a video and then and give people tickets for that. We have to actually have an officer there, detain the person, and issue them a citation.
Yeah, you guys come down and you'll do it for a day.
Yeah.
Slows them down. Next day, same thing. Any rate, if there's any way I can give you good videos.
I'll definitely pass that information on to our traffic unit, and they use centralized enforcement sometimes, and they go to certain areas and they try to more educational, but sometimes they do issue citations. So, any other questions? Yes.
There was a question about the cadet program. I'm a volunteer with the Silicon Valley Monterey Bay Council Boy Scouts, and we work actively with the county Sheriff's Department on that. So if you're interested, it's ages 15 and a half to 20, and the next meeting is going to be November the 3rd, 6 to 9 o'clock, and they meet every other Thursday.
Yeah, that's so we do have a cadet program, which is different than our Teen Academy program. Sometimes our Teen Academy members do become cadets. They will have a white shirt with our patches. They will attend public events. Sometimes they'll go help us out with the Stanford football games and just do community events and stuff like that. But that's a little bit different. They are volunteers for the sheriff's office, and they do attend more training and more meetings, but that's a little different than the Teen Academy. Yes?
Yeah, I've lived in the community now for 47 years. Actually, it was San Jose when we moved in, and then it became Cupertino. In all of these years, we've seen a lot of reports about homicides, some in our community, some in the nearby communities. Now, in everything you had on your slides, there was nothing about homicides, and not even over the multi-year time. What have we been looking at in our community and nearby when it comes to something like that?
I don't have the numbers specifically to that crime. I can tell you that my time working out here over the last couple of years, we have had some, but the suspects have been known to the victims, and so we do have a homicide unit assigned to the sheriff's office that investigates those types of crimes, and we do have a very good success rate. In fact, our homicide team has been solving homicides now, cold cases from several years ago that they're going back to solve right now. So, good question though. I don't have the numbers exactly on that though. Yes.
So going back to the gentleman's question about car speeding near the school area, why you have to post a person, an official, for a day to check that? Because that is a fact. The next day they'll all be back to the same action. Why can't you just put cameras? So now we are not dependent on a person's home camera, but actually your official cameras. And that is a big deterrent, I would think.
It is, and I think the laws changed a couple of years ago where you can't issue a citation off of a camera anymore, and that was a change in law several years ago. So it has to be actually physically witnessed by a deputy, and the person has to be stopped, detained, and issued a citation. And that, I forgot when the law changed on that.
So is that only for speeding, for driving, or is that also true for like home cameras, burglaries, and those?
Oh, you're talking about the license plate readers. Those are different, yeah. We can always use those tools for investigating and following up on leads. If we have a burglary in a neighborhood, we can review that video to see what cars drove through that area. And sometimes even those cameras are hooked up to some of our systems. So if they see a license plate that's stolen, it'll automatically alert us to that area, and we can go out there and detain that person in a stolen car or stolen license plate. Yes? Yeah, I don't know how Fast Track manages that one, but they have a really good contract with the state of California to really hit us with that one.
Yeah, my house got burglarized recently, and my neighbors, 3 out of 5 immediate neighbors, their houses got burglarized over the last few years. So I saw the graph about the trend going down, but still, like me, fresh case, I feel unsafe here. And I'm wondering what the city or the sheriff can do more, like to deter, like patrolling at night. Do you consider that, or is it done?
No, we didn't mean to minimize the number up there of having just a raw number on there, because each one of those, it's a violation of your privacy, it's a violation of your safety. Each one of those is one too many, and it's not. We're just trying to say that overall in the city of Cupertino, that crime has gone down, but that's still one too many. We do have a lot of programs that we offer where we will come out again and do more community awareness. We're finding that oftentimes, and I'm not specifically talking about your situation, but oftentimes we have situations where people don't activate their alarms, they leave doors unlocked. And those are the kind of things that we need to be more mindful about, so that we don't allow people to do that and they can move on and go somewhere else. So if you have an alarm system that alerts us, we can be there within minutes of them breaking in and not having them an opportunity to get anything.
So in my case, I have alarm system. I locked the backyard, and the doors, of course, were locked. There are 8 cameras around the house. None of that helped. So the alarm system activated when they exited the house, not when they entered. They are professional. They wear clothing which will prevent the motion sensor from activating. And so to me, all that did not help. I see the footage, the faces, they are masked. So none of that will help.
Yeah. And now we're more than happy to talk to you specifically about your case and what our detectives are doing. because we're getting some trends where it's actually they're a group of people. They're not just targeting here, but they're also in Sunnyvale. Our detectives get together with all the other cities monthly and discuss cases that they have, because most of the time the crime doesn't just stay in a certain area. It moves around, and the same suspects commit the same crimes here. Then they'll go to Sunnyvale, then they go to Palo Alto, and then maybe some of those detectives have some lead, like maybe a license plate or something like that, and we share that information, and that's where our detectives are networking all the time, and they're trying to solve these cases in the large scheme of things, because it's not just one house they're breaking into. When they're professionals like that, they're breaking into several homes, and so our detectives are working around the clock trying to solve this, because it's not just a group of kids breaking into the house. They're professionals, oftentimes out of the area, not from Cupertino, not from even this county. Sometimes they come from different counties to commit these crimes. So I can talk to you more about your specific incident and let you know if there's any potential leads or anything like that. I just don't have the report in front of me right now. So,
Thank you.
mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Could you talk about crime prevention and also neighborhood watch, that kind of program, instead of just statistics?
Yes, we do have a neighborhood watch program. We can send a deputy, or either Lieutenant Brown or myself can attend. We will provide a lot of crime prevention tips, depending upon what the neighborhood watch wants us to talk about, whether it's speeding, whether it's burglaries, and we can provide some information to each one of those. We just go out to whenever you want to host one. You put yourself in contact with the city, and they'll schedule it, and they'll have one of us come out and provide all the crime prevention tips you guys need and answer questions for you guys.
To access Neighborhood Watch in the City of Cupertino, you'll want to contact Marta Drown, Marta D at Cupertino.org, or OEM at Cupertino.org.
Right, and we'll hang out here. If you guys have any other questions and you want to talk to us or ask us something else, we'll hang out here. But thank you very much for your time. You guys have a good evening.
All right, I do want to thank you, Captain Valenzuela. I know crime and crime stats is always a hot topic. Thank you, big thank you to all of our speakers tonight. Thank you to our mayor, our council members who are in attendance. I want to thank my fellow commissioners. If you want to wave, and if anyone has any ideas for what they want to see next year, please come by and let us know if there's topics you're interested in. One big thank you to the agencies, organizations, and volunteers at all of the tables. The content is awesome, and there's some free swag, so please do check them out. And lastly, thank you everyone here for taking some time tonight to come join us. Sounds like a lot of our block leaders represented tonight, so thank you and good night.